Hey there, Alex Kidman here, and today I'm taking a look at Huawei's latest set of highly affordable true wireless buds, the Huawei Freebuds 5i. Now, these will run you around $159 outright, which sort of sits them in the middle of that budget class for sure. There are tons and tons and tons of like $20, $30, $40 really cheap buds, and let me tell you, they are really cheap because they're generally really awful. The hook for these particular buds are in the drivers and in the inclusion of active noise cancellation. Again, you can get some slightly cheaper buds than these with ANC, although not all that many from reputable brands. So what do I like about them? Well, let's talk about the design. So they've got this classic kind of pebble design. It comes in 3 different colors: nebula black, isle blue, or ceramic white. Huawei sent me the isle blue color. And look, they must know that I'm a bit of a sucker for blue products. I like them generally. The case itself has a kind of matte finish, while the buds inside will match that color, but with a gloss finish on them. You also get, as is pretty standard, 3 sets of tips, small, medium, and large, to fit your ears. I found in my own testing that the medium tips fit pretty well. One of the bigger challenges, of course, with fitting of headphones of this style is whether or not they're going to survive going out and running. So I went out and did some running, and here's what happened. So I just did a practice run in them, and they still did okay, a little bit loose, but okay for the price. Touch controls aren't great when you're running though. As I just noted, they've also got touch controls in them, and again, that's super standard. That just happens across the board for most sets of buds, and also super standard, I don't like those touch controls much. I always find that I'm pausing when I want to adjust the volume, or I'm going into active noise cancelling mode when I want to pause, or vice versa. You can at least configure them, which brings me on to pairing. Now, one detail that I do like about the Freebuds 5i is that the case has one of those little reset pairing buttons. I much prefer that to the sets where you have to hold your fingers to your ears for ages with the buds in to get them into pairing mode. That's super inconvenient. This is a lot easier. Now, these are Bluetooth 5.2 buds, and that means that actually what you can do is just pair them up to just about anything Bluetooth just by opening up the case and finding them. Now, in theory, if you've got a Huawei phone, probably not a lot of Australians do by this stage, but if you've got one and it's new enough, then you can automatically connect. You should see a little pop-up window. The only Huawei phone that I had to actually test this with was a rather old P30 Pro, and unfortunately, it's too old. It doesn't see the Freebuds 5i that way. Now, as I said, Bluetooth pairing will work just fine, not a problem. But if you want to configure them, you've got to run Huawei's AI Life app. And once again, we're in the weird position where it's actually easier to set up AI Life on an iOS device than it is an Android device. And that's because, simply put, the AI Life app that you need for configuration is freely available on the iOS App Store. But for users of Google Android phones, you're going to have to sideload because of Huawei's ongoing issues with the US government, at least for now. AI Life's a simple enough app. It lets you set what those touch gesture controls, lets you set a very simple set of equalizer settings, basically bass or treble boost, neither of which, to be honest, are terribly effective, as well as switching up what the active noise cancelling modes are. Now, ANC is meant to be a big selling point for these headphones, but at $159, you've got to temper your expectations. The ANC on the Freebuds 5i is decent, but it's not great. There are 3 settings levels for ANC, controlled through AI Life again: Cozy, General, or Ultra. And they may as well call that very weak, fairly weak, and kind of moderate. I can't see a reason why you wouldn't leave this in Ultra mode all of the time, because Cozy and General really didn't block out enough for me to be satisfying. And that's testing with things like traffic noise, with my neighbor who loves his leaf blower so very, very much, and other generalized noise intrusions like a fan. Cozy and General really just let a little bit too much through for my liking. So I tested basically only in Ultra mode as soon as I worked that out. In terms of overall audio quality, look, they're pretty decent. Most music played through fairly well, again, given that $159 price point. As I noted, the bass and treble boost within those equalizers, it's not great, and you don't get a whole bunch of equalization curves that you can play around with or anything like that. Although, of course, some apps will let you do that as part of their playback, but it's not within AI Life itself. I did hit one problem every once in a while during my testing. paired with an iPhone 14 Pro, I would sometimes find that when I pulled out the left bud, it just wouldn't pair. It didn't seem to present. And at first I thought, is it going flat? Is there something wrong here? Have they already broken? But no, simply putting them back in the case, putting the other one back in the case, popping it back open again, they were good to go. It's a little frustrating when that happens. It shouldn't happen, basically. On the battery life front, Huawei's claim is that they can do up to 28 hours, but you've got to take that figure with a grain of salt. That's 28 hours, including all the recharges that you can get out of the battery case, and that's with active noise cancelling not running. If you want active noise cancelling running, and let's face it, you do, then we're talking more like 18 and a half claimed hours, probably less in real-world use. And I base that on the fact that Huawei says these can do 6 hours of playback with ANC enabled, or 7.5 without. I was hitting more like 4 to 5 in most of my tests. That's still not bad for a set of headphones in this price category, but it's not spectacular either. And that's really my verdict on the Huawei Freebuds 5i. They're actually quite decent for the money without being stellar. And you do have a lot of choices in this market. You've got your absolute bargain basement numbers, which frankly I really wouldn't bother with. But even within this price range, you've got units like the Jabra Elite 4, Amazon's own Echo Buds, Sony's Link Buds S, some of the cheaper Samsung Buds if you can find them. And of course, your premium plays like Bose's Quiet Comfort 2s, Sony's XM4s, or the Apple AirPods Pro, or even the regular Apple AirPods, which are not a great deal more than this. Anyway, that's my take on the Huawei Freebuds 5i. Anything you want to know? Drop me a comment below. And as always, thanks for watching through all the way to the end. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe.